Coming up this week on Sporting Journal Radio.
And if you're not seeing fish, that doesn't mean you're not going to see fish, 3 or 4 hours from now. So
it takes a little bit of that border anxiety off some people just to be able to just not have to worry about it.
There were no other vehicles around. It was really a fortunate situation for us.
Could have been so much worse.
Broadcasting on the Sporting Journal Radio Network, wherever you get your podcasts or watch on YouTube.
Fish on right now.
Well, we're here at the 2024 Pheasant Fest and Quail Classic, presented by OnX. Know where you stand with OnX. And our guest now is Jeremy Smith. I fish, I hunt, and always will.
it's just to look out for your everyday hunter, angler, and trapper that's out there.
A Fish Hunt Forever production. This is Sporting Journal Radio.
All right, welcome to the show. I'm Bret Amundson. Today we're going to talk about things affecting you if you hunt and fish in Minnesota or the region surrounding Minnesota. Dan Amundson is with us as well. Dan, how's it going?
Different places, different circumstances. We always bring you a podcast. Here we are.
We try to. It's been a tough week.
It's been a week.
It's been a week. That's right. We're going to talk about what happened. We're going to talk about what we've done. We've done some really cool things, had some unfortunate circumstances. But you know what? You just keep moving forward. And I'm in the Twin Cities, and I'm here this weekend for the first annual Minnesota Sportsman Show. We're going to tell you all about that and why I'm going to be out there. Darren Troseth is going to join us, too. He's a guide in the Twin Cities area, and he has been on the big fish. We're going to tell you what he's fishing for and where he's at. Coming up. And Gregg Hennum from Lake of the Woods is also going to join us. We had a chance to talk to him last week when we were up at the Northwest Angle. He has got his hands, Dan, he's so busy up there. He may be the busiest guy at Lake of the Woods.
I think that's actually what I was going to title that segment or title this podcast, the busiest guy at Lake of the Woods or busiest guy up north, because I think we're busy. We have our hands in a lot of different things, with a few different YouTube channels, a podcast every week, and a TV show and everything else we do. But Gregg Hennum might have us beat.
He does something called the passenger service, the Lake of the Woods passenger service, and this allows you to get up to the Northwest Angle without having to go through Canada. Why is that important? Well, We'll find out coming up later in the show. But first, Dan, who are the sponsors this week?
Inver Grove Toyota is the official truck sponsor of Fish Hunt Forever. When looking for a new rig, head to Inver Grove Toyota. Lake of the Woods Tourism. Lake of the Woods is the walleye capital of the world. Plan a trip for this ice fishing season at lakeofthewoodsmn.com. OnX Hunt. See private land boundaries, recent imagery, offline maps, and Minnesota-specific hunt layers. Download the OnX Hunt app today. Tasman Lake Lodge. Catch world record lake trout and giant pike at Saskatchewan's Tasman Lake. Learn more at tasmanlake.com and go see their booth at the Minnesota Sportsman Show this weekend, January 17th through 19th at Canterbury Park in Shakopee. Free on-site parking. Learn more at mnresortshow.com. Prairie Sportsman, new season is almost here. Get caught up on previous shows anytime at the Prairie Sportsman YouTube channel. Haybell Heights Campground and Resort. Fish out of a snow bear on Devil's Lake this winter. Learn more at haybellheights.com. And Guardian Eagle Resort. Plan a trip for next summer to the Ontario waters of Guardian Eagle Resort. Fly directly from the Twin Cities. Learn more at guardianeagle.com.
That's right, and that is our headline sponsor.
Headlines.
So, Guardian Eagle Resort, Ontario, we smashed walleyes up there. You can fly direct. We flew right out of that airport, Blaine. No, is it Blaine County or Anoka County?
It's Anoka County, Blaine, the Anoka County Blaine Airport. I don't know why that has to be so confusing. It is.
You can fly out of there and land right on their right at their lodge on their runway right there. And we're going to be able to bring a couple people with us up to the lodge to fish with us this year. Keep listening for more details on how you can win a trip to Guardian Eagle Resort. All right. Well, Dan, there was a deer survey, and you had the details on this one. Do you have the details in front of you for this deer survey from the Minnesota DNR?
I don't have the details. There aren't a ton of details. You can find the survey. We link to it on our website, sportingjournalradio.com. Basically, I took the survey. It's just a bunch of questions asking what zone you hunt, and then about that zone, what you saw for deer, what you harvested, what your harvest preferences would be, if you're happy with the amount of deer in your area, and then it offers spots for comments. What would you like to see from your area? What would you like to see the DNR do? Are you happy with the management plans? Are you aware of the management plans in your zone? So, everyone loves to complain on Facebook about deer hunting and the wolf issue and this. And moose actually was part of this. CWD. They asked about moose. They ask how important the moose population in Minnesota is to you, stuff like that. So, everyone loves to complain. Here's your chance to have your voice heard. You can, if you hunt multiple zones, you can take the survey multiple times for different zones. You don't have to put any of your information in, so you're not putting license information in. You're not, the DNR doesn't know who you are when you take this survey, so it's not like they're going to come after you or see a certain name pop across the screen and write you off. So an anonymous survey, here's your chance to have your voice heard. Like I said, it's linked to our website. Go take it. If you want to complain about deer hunting in Minnesota, you better take the survey. Otherwise, you don't really have a right to jump on Facebook and complain.
They're also talking about issues related to damage deer might have done to crops, landscaping, or gardens, and other deer-related issues. And then if you hunt permit areas 101, 111, 183, 208, or 268, they're talking about maybe changing the boundaries on those deer permit areas a little bit. So if those areas are close to you or where you spend time in the fall, you will want to take the survey to talk about any proposed boundary changes. You can find that survey on our website at sportingjournalradio.com. All right. DNR is also taking public input via an online survey for Lake of the Woods. They want to share their thoughts on a draft update of the fisheries management plan for the lake. Now, this opportunity differs from the scoping survey that they released last February. That guided the management planning process. Well, this is an opportunity to comment on the draft plan. It was last updated in 2018, and it's important that this update reflect current public values and attitudes about how the lake should be managed. An updated master plan will be used to guide management on Lake of the Woods fish populations. It'll include management goals, objectives, and strategies for the lake for the next 10 years. Find information about all that at the Minnesota DNR website as well. So if you've got an idea on how Lake of the Woods should be managed, this is your chance to comment about that. And we will put a link in the comments here if you're watching this on YouTube to comment about Lake of the Woods management. Also, if you're looking to get into fishing and your kid has bugged you like, come on, Dad, come on, Mom, take me fishing, please. I've always wanted to try it. Well, it's take a kid fishing weekend. So kids 15 and under always get to fish for free in Minnesota. But if you take a kid and you're an adult, you get to fish for free. So if you just want to go out there and try it and see what it's all about, you can go for free if you're bringing somebody 15 or under. All those details, take a kid fishing weekend, Saturday, January 18th through Monday, January 20th. All right, as Dan mentioned earlier, it is the first annual Minnesota Sportsman Show this weekend at Canterbury Park. We've done shows there, Dan. I've been going there now for a few years for the Minnesota Deer Classic, which will be coming up again here in March. This show is the first time, the first one ever. So it's Seneco Productions, though. They've been doing sports shows for 60 years. The guys in Fargo, they've done shows in the Twin Cities, Sioux Falls, St. Cloud. They got the Sportsman show. So a lot of you are probably familiar with Seneco and the shows that they do, the Sportsman shows. This is a brand new one, and it's in Shakopee, so you don't have to be in downtown Minneapolis. You don't have to find a place to park and then pay to park there. They got free parking right at the venue, and then it's a really nice venue because there's a lot of room. There's a couple of big rooms. There's a lot of hallways that you can wind around and talk to a lot of different people. There's a casino in there. There's a place to get something to eat. There's a place to get something to drink. So I'm excited about it. And Tazen Lake is going to have a booth there, Tazen Lake Lodge. I'll be at the Tazen Lake Lodge booth. I believe it's booth number 48 or 49. So we're going to be in one of the big rooms, and we'll be kind of in the middle towards the back. So TazenLake.com. I put a map on their website. You can go see it and see a floor plan.
Walk around the whole show. Just don't try to go anywhere specific. Just walk around the whole show, and you'll come across the Tazen Lake Lodge booth, and then sit there and book a trip.
Mm-hmm.
Bring your
check. You won't regret it. So much fun. And I'm excited to see, we'll see old friends there, of course. And it's sports show season, Dan. So you know how it goes. When you go to these shows, you end up seeing people that the only time you see them is this time of year. We're all doing the circuit. And then, people that go to these shows, or people that watch this or listen to our show, they'll come up and be like, oh, yeah,
I hate your show.
Yeah. Yeah. Or they'll say, hi, I love listening to your show. Nice to meet you.
That never happens. Not with this
Anyway.
thing.
Yeah, you're probably right. It's a chance to come up and tell us what we're doing wrong and how we can do it better. So see me at the Tazen Lake Lodge booth this weekend in Shakopee. We got easy access to it, 169, just south of 494. by Valley Fair, Canterbury Park, kind of down in that neck of the woods down
I
there.
think
So,
like even you coming from Woodbury or my parents coming from Woodbury or whatever would make about 3 turns to get there.
pretty much
494 to 169 and oh look, you're there. So pretty easy, even if you're on the east side.
I'm excited about it. So, all right, we got to take a quick break. We got Darren Troseth coming up, and also Gregg Hennum. We're going to talk Lake of the Woods. We'll talk big fish, ice fishing, and we'll also talk about our little fender bender that took place recently when we come back on Sporting Journal Radio.
The Minnesota Sportsman Show is back January 17th to the 19th, now at Canterbury Park in Shakopee. Visit hunting and fishing resorts from the Midwest to Canada, Great Lakes charters to African safaris. Plan your vacation right at the show. There's fishing gear and the latest fishing electronics. Fishing seminars by Tom Wynn and Joe Henry. The Sportsman Show, January 17th through the 19th at Canterbury Park with free parking. Details at mnresortshow.com. A Sonenko production.
We're back. This is Sporting Journal Radio. I'm Bret Amundson along with Dan Amundson. And Dan, we travel a lot. That's why I like to have a new truck, something that's in good working condition. I want something that's reliable. That'll get us from place to place. That's why I went out and got the Fundra. Love that truck. Sometimes it doesn't matter, though, what you have if you end up having ice on the roads. And as we found out the other day, roads were looking pretty good. We've been on the road for 6 hours already, driving across the state of Minnesota, and we got on I-35. We weren't speeding. We hit a patch of black ice, and the truck started to fishtail, and we went into the cable median barrier. So essentially, it's posts that run along the interstate with 4 cables going through those posts, through guides in the post. They have some flex to them, some stretch. And since they've been put in, accidents that have been caused where somebody goes off the road through that ditch in the middle, the median, and then up and down coming traffic. I think I read a stat that those types of accidents have been reduced by 97%. Those cables allow a vehicle to go into them and come back. So it lessens the impact of going into like a steel guardrail or a concrete wall, concrete barrier. So we hit those cables down into the ditch. And then as I thought I was steering out of the ditch, and I might've been, but I think one of the cables was wrapped around the truck and also pulled us back up until we came to a rest. And the strangest thing about the whole situation, Dan, I thought was when we stopped and we looked at each other like, you okay? Yep. You okay? Yep. We had the dogs in the truck. There was no major impact. We didn't roll. There were no other vehicles around. It was really a fortunate situation for us.
Could have been so much worse. So much worse.
Could have been much worse. But the most interesting thing about it is we couldn't open the doors.
Yep.
And I didn't know if the vehicle, like the body or the anything had flexed to the point where the doors were wedged. So we rolled down the windows, climbed out the windows, and realized that 2 of those cables were holding us in place. So essentially the truck was wedged between 2 of these cables, which boggled my mind. I'd never seen anything like it before. I didn't really know how they were supposed to work. And as sheriff's deputy showed up, fire department showed up, thank you to everybody that showed up and helped us out. From Rush City there. And then somebody from MnDOT showed up, and I kind of laughed. I looked at him. I said, you ever seen anything like this? He goes, all the time. All the time. Like, this is how these cables are supposed to work. They catch you and keep you safe, and basically just pulled us right in until we stopped at one of the posts. And, of course, I was braking at the same time, too. So I'm sure between the brakes and the cables and the post, we came to a stop. We were out of traffic. We were in a safe place. But as one of the responders there mentioned, he said, well, this is why they call them shredder cables, because they do a number on your vehicle. And the Fundra, we're looking probably for the Fundra 2.0, unfortunately. So bad deal for the truck, good deal for us, fortunately. So I guess out of all of this, take it easy out there. If road conditions are bad, and like I said, we've been driving for 6 hours, had no idea that the roads were going to be a little bit slick because traffic was moving along fine. And as we found out that night, there were spin-outs happening at that point. They were just starting and happening all over the place. And in fact, that tow truck driver that towed the Fundra out of there that night at about 6:30 p.m., 7 p.m. Well, we were there for a couple hours, so we probably towed it out about 9 p.m., I suppose, 8:30. When I talked to him the next day at 3 p.m. in the afternoon, he was still towing vehicles. Worked all through the night. So it was a busy, busy time out there. So please be safe while you're driving. But Dan, one really cool thing I thought during that trip is we ended up seeing a couple owls along the road, which it's not really that common.
Well, the fun part about it was we had just left Youngs Bay, Youngs Bay Resort there, or Jerry's, I guess. We kind of stopped there to wrap some things up for the trip, said goodbye, and went on our way. And as we're leaving, he said, I kind of hope we just see like a moose or a grouse or an owl or something cool. It was those three. And we go a few miles down the road. Hey, there's a grouse in the ditch. Took some pictures of the grouse. Kind of always cool to see those critters because I think ruffed grouse are just really cool birds. And we go a few more miles, or by that time, maybe it was kilometers down the road. And I look up at the power line. Hey, look, there's an owl. That's cool. Kept on trucking, and we were somewhere else. I don't remember where in Minnesota we were at that point, and you saw an owl sitting up in a tree. So there's a pile of owls in Minnesota right now. I've seen some headlines about them at the airport. If this was the Alaska Airport TV show, which there's one person listening to the show that's going to get this reference, those owls could cost the airport millions of dollars. Radio for one person. But apparently they're piling up somewhere else, too.
Yeah, well, there's an eruption this year, and you hear about owl eruptions, and it's IRRUPTIONS, so eruption, not eruption. And what that means is that the population of owls had expanded so much north of Minnesota, up in Canada, and a lot of them from the boreal forests north of us have to expand searching for food, so they migrate essentially down into Minnesota. And
why are you such a nerd, bro?
It's the story of my life.
Kind of nerdy.
They will look for voles and mice, and around that Sax Zim Bog, that area was once drained and cleared for farming 100 years ago. In fact, there's two towns, the town of Sax, the town of Zim. They're both ghost towns now because the farming didn't work there. But the landscape that it left was these ditches and these clearings, and essentially a fertile ground for the type of food that owls like voles. And so a lot of times you'll see them along the side the roads of these grass. There's grid work of gravel roads up there in the Sax Zim Bog now. And then you'll see a lot of these owls along the roads. So it's become a popular destination for birders and photographers and people that just want to go view wildlife, because you'll also see pine martens up there. I believe there's been some bobcats. There's been moose. They've seen wolves. They see all sorts of wildlife, and obviously a lot of other birds. And it's a popular area for outdoor recreation, snowshoeing, hiking, things like that. But the owls are really what bring people from all over the world. In fact, Dan, I don't know if you can pull it up, but we filmed an episode of Prairie Sportsman there a few years back with Sparky Stensis from up there.
Well, talk amongst yourself while I do this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. I didn't know what was going on there.
Well, you know how we show prep before this? And we talked about this kind of being a good idea, and I don't think we ever came to a conclusion. And I just went on and made my lunch and kind of just said, whatever. So talk amongst yourself
okay, great.
For a little bit.
Good. We are trained professionals. Don't try this at home, ladies and gentlemen. But we filmed with Sparky up there, and Sparky was gracious enough to lend us some of his footage that he shot of different owls up there, and we included it in this episode of Prairie Sportsman, as you can see on the Prairie Sportsman website or on the Prairie Sportsman YouTube channel. It is some really, really cool stuff of great gray owls and some hawk owl, northern hawk owls, some hawk owls. Anyway, some other owls that are up there. And right now, the bog apparently is real busy. There's owls all over the place. There's been some snowy owls, And there's been a lot of people there. And if you're part of any of the Facebook groups, honestly, this is what is really driving me crazy about social media and Facebook, because all people are doing is going to the bog, making it real busy, and complaining about each other, which, like someone even said, hey, I'm coming to the bog. My favorite jacket in the winter is an old fur coat that I literally have glued together. Is anybody going to be offended if I wear a fur coat around there?
Come on.
What? The fact that somebody needed to ask that question before they traveled there just shows you what's wrong with our world today. But so then the comments varied from, yes, that's very offensive, to no, don't worry about what anybody else think. And, oh, look at that. My truck is a total loss. Just got the message live here on the show. The Fundra is officially totaled. Dang. Man. Anyway, so one thing about Sax Zim Bog is people always ask me, like, what do you do? How do you find owls there? I just tell people just to drive around real slow, be careful. Don't trespass. A lot of people are trespassing up there at the bog and getting out and chasing owls into the woods, then walking across private property. It's not a public park. Use OnX. Don't trespass. Look up in the trees and go slow, but don't block traffic. And then the easiest thing, if you've never seen an owl, is you're going to turn down a road and you're going to see 10 cars parked along the side of the road somewhere. They're looking at an owl. So you can go up there, stay out of their way, but what ends up happening is that creates a mess, blocks traffic, puts a lot of pressure on that animal or that owl, whatever, which they're kind of used to people a little bit, but don't get too close to them, all that good stuff. But take your pictures and then go look for your own. And it's funny, we stopped when we filmed up there, we stopped just to take a break. I wasn't looking at anything, but we just stopped to make a phone call or send an email or something. And I had 3 cars pull up and park behind me, thinking I was looking at an owl. So go enjoy it. It's a beautiful area. It's really neat to see those owls. But, don't be part of the crowd, or if you do, just take a picture and move on to the next one. But just be courteous. Don't trespass. And, there's some really friendly local people there that'll help you out too if you need it. So it's really neat. But that episode of Prairie Sportsman is really a neat one. You can watch that on the Prairie Sportsman YouTube channel or on the Prairie Sportsman website. Brand new season of Prairie Sportsman kicking off in February. We're really excited about it. Watch for it on a local PBS station near you. All right, so Dan, we were up at Lake of the Woods. We got to talk to Gregg Hennum. He's a former owner of Sportsman's on the south side, Sportsman's Lodge or Sporties. He still owns Sportsman's Oak Island. He also owns the Lake of the Woods passenger service. He's got something new called the Man Caves up there, which is interesting. And then he's a reeler. He has got his hands in so many pies. We're going to talk to him about how he balances life in all those working opportunities.
Who
coming
puts
up later
their hands
in the show.
in pie?
I think I saw a movie about that once.
Oh,
also, Darren Troseth is a fishing guide. He is catching giant fish, and we're going to find out more about that when we come back on Sporting Journal Radio.
Sick of eating tag soup? It's time to own your odds this fall with OnX Hunt, the GPS hunting app trusted by millions of hunters. Now you'll have access to nationwide public and private land ownership information, waypoints, optimal wind for each stand, tracks, and much more. All at your fingertips. Go to onxmaps.com/hunt and use code SJR20 at checkout to receive 20% off your membership. That's code SJR20. It doesn't get much better than fresh perch and fresh walleye. If you're looking for an exciting winter fishing destination, come to Devil's Lake, North Dakota. Haybale Heights Campground and Resort is on the ice with a fleet of snow bears, keeping you mobile and warm so you can stay on the roaming schools of fish. Haybale Heights on the east end of Devil's Lake has knowledgeable guides, comfortable cabins, and their own lake access, making your trip as successful and stress-free as possible. To book your trip, go to haybaleheights.com. That's haybaleheights.com.
All right, we're back on Sporting Journal Radio. This segment is brought to you by Tasman Lake Lodge. Trophy lake trout northern pike fishing in a scenic northern Saskatchewan setting is waiting for you at Tasman Lake Lodge, and it's not uncommon for guests to get both personal bests in both categories at Tasman. Learn more at tasmanlake.com. And Stop out and see them. We're at the Minnesota Sportsman Show, the first annual at Canterbury Park this weekend, 17th, 18th, and 19th in Shakopee. Trevor and Barry and myself will be working the Tasman Lake Lodge booth, so stop out and see us. And while they're down here, they talked about doing some fishing, and Trevor's like, well, what about some sturgeon fishing? And I said, you know what? I know a guy. So I called Darren Troseth, who joins us right now on the show. And Darren, how's it going?
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing? Sounds like you got a little cold.
Yeah, I'm getting over one here. It's just like you destroy the truck and then get sick. I mean, it was like par for the course this week for me. But I'm feeling pretty good now. I'll tell you what, Dan and I both are believers in Zicam right now, for sure. Like, pretty amazing how well that stuff has shortened up some colds. But Three Rivers Fishing Adventures is your guide service, and you're out there chasing flatheads, channel cats, and in the wintertime you get on the ice and go after sturgeon. Big fish are fun, aren't they?
They sure are, and I'm really glad we have some even walkable ice this year. Last year was pretty much just a bust, and it looks like we're going to have, the season goes through the end of February, and, we're going to be able to get out there basically every day, any day we want to, so.
Yeah, that's good. Last year was so tough. Everywhere was so tough, but I suppose, especially when you're dealing with a river system, St. Croix River, you really hope for some colder weather to build some ice. So how are the ice conditions this year out there, Darren?
That last cold spell we had just before this recent one here really did a good job, over New Year's there. We started with a good base. We didn't have a lot of snow, so it's really good, hard, solid ice. And the last time I was out, which was about, 4 or 5 days ago, we had anything from, 13 to 15 inches in the main basin area where I fish. So a lot of vehicles just starting to get out there, and we're starting to see a lot of wheelhouses and permanents now. And that's kind of a, bittersweet, I guess. You get a lot of people out there, and it sort of pressures these fish a little bit. So what I try to do is try to get away from everyone and, just trying to find my own fish. But it's good to see all the people out there, having fun and doing what we all enjoy to do.
And it is good to get away from the crowd, but there's a couple areas you should be wary of out there, right?
There are, anywhere where the river necks down or, a popular spot is there's a warm water discharge from the King Energy plant. And that kind of goes on and off randomly. So you never know when it's going to be running. And when that thing's running, there's open water out into the middle of the channel there. So be cautious in that area for sure. It's kind of a community area. And I do fish it a little bit, but I do try to get away from it once everyone starts piling in there.
Yeah. Wasn't there a week ago or 2 weeks ago where it surprised everybody a little bit?
Yeah, me personally, actually. I was a friend and I were out there, and we were the only ones out there. And, we set up, we actually saw the power plant come on just before we got out there. And, we thought it would be good if we could get out there. And it turned out, it actually pushed out a lot of further and quicker than we thought it would. We were never unsafe or anything because I knew what was going to happen, but it was really surprising how fast that open water moved into there and the current just picked up.
Now, this is completely off topic, and Dan, I think I sent you this video, Darren, but did you see that video from, I think it was Lake Superior, of the icebreaker rolling through and they stopped because there was a fish house in front of them?
Did you see that? That was crazy.
Hey, gosh, the ice is really noisy today. Like, God, it sounds like someone's getting close to us. Get your own spot. It's a big lake. Get your own spot. Could you imagine looking out the window of your pop-up and seeing
hi, Coast Guard
coming at you? Yeah.
I deal with enough barges in the summertime. I'll keep away from them in the wintertime.
Yeah, right. Well, obviously there's some safe ice out there, and this is one of the reasons why I like to go out especially when it's a lake or a river like this that I don't have a lot of experience on, or say maybe even Lake of the Woods. Going out with a guide or someone that's out there all the time and knows the water, knows what happens around the area. That there's the video right there. I think that makes it that much more important. My gosh, I was watching this video and thinking, is that a fish house? And then when you search for it and Google it or read the comments, you realize, and then somebody filmed a video from the shore, I guess, of this whole situation happening too. It's on YouTube somewhere, but That is a scary, scary deal right there. But what I really thought was interesting too is those guys from the ship just climbed off the ship and walked up the ice to him.
But they probably wanted to fish.
It makes me wonder how much ice
actually, because they normally won't stop. That they got the right of way there, so that was good that they actually stopped.
Man, that's crazy. Well, let's get back to sturgeon fishing. How's the bite been this year?
The bite has been pretty solid. It's probably I don't know. I would say the most action I've seen probably in the last couple of years. Obviously, last year was a tough one, but I do see a lot of nice fish being caught, and it's kind of like any other ice fishing. As soon as people get out there and start catching fish, and then the people get out there, and then you see a slowdown, and then people kind of get discouraged a little bit, and then it'll start picking up here again, towards the end of the season. So I've seen that just about every other place, where you ice fish. You always see that on Upper Red Lake. People get out there, start catching fish, then there's a big slowdown. And so that's kind of happened right now. I was out there last weekend, and it did slow down quite a bit, but I expect it's going to pick up again.
Do you think the poor ice conditions last year gave the fish a little bit of a break?
I do. Yeah. Yep, for sure. I mean, you didn't see the cities of people out there chasing these fish around, and a lot fewer were caught. I mean, I run a contest every winter out there, and there's not a huge number of that fish it, but I mean, there were, just a couple fish were even caught last year. So it was a big blow, but like you say, a break for the fish for sure.
Tough for a guide, I suppose. Tough for a guiding business. You probably had to look for some other opportunities out there to get customers on fish.
Last year was the first year ever that I didn't do one trip on the ice. So thankfully I had my full-time job back then, so it wasn't too big of a deal, but I am doing full-time now. So I'm trying to get out there.
Full-time guiding. Full-time guiding now, right? I mean, yeah, you don't have that full-time job anymore.
Yep, that's all I'm doing right now. So.
All right. So obviously we want people to book a trip with you, but what tips for if anybody was going to go out there on their own, what's a tip that you'd give somebody?
So I guess, right off, you mentioned safety on the river. Be sure you're checking where you're going, do your research to know where you're going, what areas of the river you're going to. First and foremost, you want to be safe. Second of all, just putting in time is going to be your biggest tip at all. These fish move around a lot. A lot of these guys will go out and they'll camp out all weekend, some of them, and try to maximize their time on the ice. So these fish are always on the move, and if you're not seeing fish, that doesn't mean you're not going to see fish, 3 or 4 hours from now. So I tell people, it's a waiting game. It's more like I liken it to deer hunting, sitting out in your deer stand and waiting for these fish to come through. And you can, move around, hole hop a little bit if you want. But I found that my best luck is keeping those lines in the water and just waiting for them.
And it's fun. When we did it, we filmed an episode of Prairie Sportsman. You can see it on the Prairie Sportsman YouTube channel. We did it with a live scope and bobbers, which makes a lot of sense, but it was a lot of fun because you'd see those fish come in. You could see if they were spinning around, if they were checking out, the bait that we had down there. And the most interesting part about it, I thought, Darren, was they weren't going to take the bobber all the way down necessarily.
Yeah, that's most people that use a bobber for ice fishing, they're just used to seeing that thing go, under the ice. And that rarely happens. In fact, I would say more often you'll see that bobber just tip up and sit on its side, and that's when they picked up and gave you a little bit of slack. But mostly we're just using it as a strike indicator to see those fish are coming in and taking the bait, I guess.
Well, I remember this was 2 years ago that we did this.
Yeah.
I remember the same thing you had mentioned. It was things that slowed down a little bit. Fishing was a little tough. But we went out there. I think we only landed one, right? Dan caught one that he set the hook on it and everything went flying across the fish house.
Right there.
Yeah, right there.
Try to do that again.
You're watching this on YouTube. Yeah, that's a rod holder, and it flew up into the light stand, right?
It landed on the GoPro clamp.
Oh, yeah.
Which with the light was there too. But yeah, try to do that one again.
So I got asked the other day if I'd caught a sturgeon through the ice yet, and I haven't. But if you watch this video, you'll see I did hook into one. I think I lost it halfway up, if I remember correctly. I can't remember.
We lost a couple,
but I did redeem myself with. I won't give it away, but there's a special catch at the very end of the video. Well, I don't know if I redeemed myself necessarily, but I did catch something at the very end. We'll make you watch the video to find out what that was. But man, it's a heck of a good time, and what an opportunity, Darren, to have this type of fishery and this type of opportunity so close to the Twin Cities metro like this.
It really is, and it's kind of a niche thing, and a lot of people don't really understand it. The time we put in to do it, but once you catch even the size of that one Dan has there, that's a pretty nice fish, and a lot bigger than most fish you're going to catch through the ice. So it does, require a little bit of waiting and some special techniques, but there's a chance of catching a 70-incher every single time you're out there. And I saw someone post a 70-incher not too long ago. Or a 78-incher.
Or 78. Well, we're running out of time here. I'm going to have you back on again because we could talk about the tagging that's done out there, your state record fish, all that good stuff. But we're going to let you go for now. And I appreciate the time for you coming on. And if somebody wants to book a sturgeon ice fishing trip with you, Darren, what should they do?
They can go to my website, threeriversfishingadventures.com. That's with the number 3. They can find me on Facebook, YouTube, pretty much anywhere you type in that, you're going to find me. And there's a booking calendar there. You can contact me and ask me any questions, whatever.
And I should mention you got some Facebook groups where you are constantly helping people out. So if people aren't in like the Catfish and Sturgeon group on Facebook, you should get in that because you will learn a lot from Darren and the other people in that group. Darren Troseth, appreciate the time today on the show.
Thanks, guys.
Lake of the Woods, the walleye capital of the world, is calling out to you. From the Northwest Angle to the South Shore and Rainy River, this is the Midwest's #1 ice fishing destination. Walleyes, sauger, perch, northern pike, and eelpout. The fishing on Lake of the Woods is like a world of its own. Experience the most amazing fishing through one of the many full-service resorts featuring heated fish houses, ice transportation, meal plans, and sleeper fish house options. For more information, go to lakeofthewoodsmn.com.
This is Sporting Journal Radio. I'm Bret Amundson. Thanks for tuning in wherever you are listening. Maybe you're downloading this from Spotify or watching this on YouTube. We're in tight quarters up here at Sportsman's Oak Island. We're up at the Northwest Angle with Gregg Hennum. Now, Greg, there's a lot of busy people up at the Angle, a lot of really hardworking people. You have to at a place like this, especially in the guiding world or the resort world. But at least on paper, you may be the hardest working guy up here, it seems like, just because you got so much stuff going on that you're involved in.
Yeah, well, living at the Angle, doing business at the Angle is takes a certain person. It's a small community. We all work together. One thing we always say at the Angle is no matter what, you're always going to need your neighbor, and we are always communicating constantly for different times of year for different things. So yeah, it's a great, tight community. Resort owners get along really well. We all work together with, a lot of it's outdoor stuff, safety stuff, yada, 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 borrowing this, helping out with that. So
you have to be able to work together.
100%, especially up here. Yeah. Especially up here.
It's such a neat area, and it's nice how it's a community that where people do work together, especially after the COVID years and what a nightmare that was. And we came up on the ice road and we experienced part of that and talked to, I think you were on the podcast back then talking about it and what you guys went through up here. It's just so great that everything is still kicking up here and pretty good ice this year. Yep. Could be a pretty good winter for you.
Pretty very good winter. Much better than last year.
Yeah.
There's a little lack of snow right now, but that's good because we're making thick ice right now, so that'll help our March, obviously. But the COVID deal, I think it was a win for us. We got to highlight ourselves a lot since Canada was closed. Which was an overall win.
Well, Lake of the Woods in general was huge during those years.
Yep. So, it's been a good start to the winter. Glad to have you guys up here, and it sounds like you guys did really well fishing, which is a bonus.
Fishing was good. Yeah, fishing was good, and it was cold. Well. So it's always nice. Yeah, it's northern Minnesota, but it's always nice to be able to go out in a heated bomber and get into a heated house. And of course, we drove up, took our truck and drove up through the border, drove up through Sprague, and came up that way. But for people that don't want to do that, or maybe they can't go through Canada, you offer an alternative for them.
Yep. Yeah, so we do Lake of the Woods passenger service. We started it, 15 some years ago, and we didn't really promote it. We were, just 400 or 500 people in the summer, 200-300 people in the winter we would take across the lake. And then COVID hit and my numbers just exploded. So we had to gear up with equipment. I mean, our peak was summer of 21, I believe it was. We did 2,400 people in the summer.
Oh, wow.
It was unbelievable. So it allows people to get up here not having to go through Canada, regardless if you have a passport or not. It's a simple way to get up here. It's faster, it's quicker. You get to see the lake. And it just takes a little bit of that border anxiety off some people, just to be able to just not have to worry about it.
Oh, yeah.
Bring what you want to take care of, enjoy your trip. And it's a little bit of an adventure too. Like I say, in the summertime, it can be 45 minutes or it can be an hour and a half, depending on the water. Sometimes we take different routes. In the wintertime, we have nice big stretch bombardiers with diesel engines in them on our Groom Trail.
Are you taking the snowmobile trail up there?
Yeah, in the wintertime, we run the snowmobile trail. It's a state-funded trail. We help mark it. We help groom it. Obviously, we help maintain it as far as cracks and, ice, just day-to-day stuff.
So you're doing a lot of the work on that trail.
Yeah, I mean, we've got it down to a pretty good science.
Sure.
I mean, it's not as much as you think, but it's being on it every day, you learn it and you know it and you figure it out, right?
So we were, before we started recording, we were telling the story about how we filmed a Prairie Sportsman episode. We took that snowmobile trail on New Polaris's, and we had a brand new camera guy, Dylan, and it was real cold, 42 miles on that snowmobile trail.
Yep.
But that year, I'm trying to remember, it was 2018. I think it was 2018 maybe. I don't know if Dan, you'd remember, but the ice shards along that trail were so high, and you were kind of bobbing and weaving through some of it. It felt like something out of a movie.
Every year's different.
Yeah.
And even this year we had some crazy winds before the ice finally froze, but and we typically have a pretty standard route we take where that trail goes, and there's reasons why we do that. Just it seems to be a better route for ice shards and cracks and stuff, but what do? You just got to get out there and you do it. I mean, you chisel it down. We've used rifles before. We've used, anything. We've chisels and tannerite chainsaws. And whatever, chainsaws, and
Tannerite.
It's just part of the odyssey of being able to get the trail going, and little snow helps and traffic.
So how does that work? How big of a group can you accommodate for something like that?
Coming across the lake, we can do groups of 30.
Wow.
We've got access to not only the bombers that we have and the machines, but we've got some other people that we could. But 6s, 4s, 2s, 8s. A group of 8 with gear fit really nice in our stretch bombardier. You can bring what you want. It's not the end of the world if you bring some gear. Obviously it's a cold climate, but and we run every day. Doesn't matter. We'll run every day typically we start day after Christmas, and we'll go till 15th of March, whenever Mother Nature tells us we got to quit. So. Now,
you don't own it anymore. You used to own Sportsman's on the south end.
On the Rainy River.
Don't own it anymore. Do you start there with the passenger service, or do you have another location now?
No, we have a deal worked out with them for parking, and then we do our pickups and drop-offs. It's a really nice location to do that because they have a bar and restaurant right there. Parking's
I've
right
been
there.
In the bar before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anybody that's been to the Rainy River's been in the bar before.
Yeah. So it's a really nice starting point for the guests to be there. Then they jump up and plug their vehicle in if they need to, or whatever. So it's simple.
And obviously that place is kind of a legendary place on the Rainy River. Was in your family for a long time.
30 years, yeah.
30 years.
Yep.
But it's got to be nice, I bet, spending more time up at the angle up here.
Yeah, well, our resort history in my family actually started on Oak Island back in 85. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So then we came back here in 03 with purchasing Sportsman's Oak Island Lodge. And then we recently purchased Angle Inn Lodge, which is next door here just a couple years ago. So that's where we actually started, was just next door.
Okay,
so.
I've stayed over there too.
Yep.
I've stayed at both of these places up here now. And so how do you use that resort then?
Angle Inn Lodge used to be a full-service bar restaurant. We basically just turned it into an 8-bedroom, 8-bath cabin. So there's no food service or bar service over there. It's a 4-minute walk down the trail on the shoreline. So a lot of groups, not only the do-it-yourselfers as far as on your own snowmobiles, your own boats, they just love it because there's 8-bedroom, 8-bath bar that they can do with their own. There's a kitchen in there, dining room. They can, it's
cool.
Families, groups, friends, easy. So it's,
or they can come over here. Like your bar is packed tonight here.
yeah, it's busy.
And that big table that was next to us, they all came up by snowmobile today.
Okay.
I talked to them and caught some fish today. So
good.
And so you've got Sportsman's Oak Island. You've also got something new called the Man Caves.
Yeah, and it's not a new concept by any means, but it's new to the area. So we built these large 12,000 square foot heated storage buildings that are chunked up into 12 units. Big overhead doors, heated floor, bathroom in them. They're made for storage, not for overnight stays. So people want to leave their gear up here, their stuff. They own a cabin up here. They leave stuff. Some of their snow bears, their boats, their Rangers. All that stuff can be in heated, locked storage year round. And it's we got 2 buildings up now, and they're going well. So.
Okay. And they're not just here at the Angle, right?
Yeah. So there's one at the Angle, and there's one in Badette.
Okay.
We have plans to do one in Warroad. We also have some ideas to do one down in Vermilion.
Gotcha.
So it's a new deal for us, and we'll see where it goes.
All right. And then Joe was saying you're a realtor up here, too.
Yeah. I got my real estate license back in 2010, I think it was. So It's been a while, and I do a majority of my work up here.
I can't imagine land comes up for sale too often up here.
There's always something for sale up here. There's a lot of cabin owners that are former resort guests or locals, which I mean, Warroad, Roseau, Grand Forks area, that type of local that have cabins up here. A lot of nice places.
Yeah.
A lot of summertime use, much less in the winter, but
it's such a unique place. I mean, I'd imagine. I'm sure it's not cheap to buy land up here, but I'd imagine it's a high demand because of how unique it is.
It is, and it's not out of this world stuff. There's getting to be some nicer stuff all the time, obviously, but a lot of people like it because it's super private.
Yeah.
It's not just small little chunks. It's nicer sized chunks. The fishing opportunities are endless. Mm-hmm. The hunting opportunities are endless. You can get away. I mean, you can really get away.
It's like being in Canada, really.
You're on the doorstep of Canada. Yeah, you're on the doorstep of Canada without having to deal with all that type of stuff living in Canada or owning a property in Canada. But being able to explore the lake is incredible. And people, you don't have to fish every day. A lot of cabin owners end up not fishing every day. They just have projects or whatever. But you can pick when you fish.
Yeah.
The nice days or whatever. But awesome group of people that have property up here that come and go, and so it's a fun business.
Joe also told me that you're on the board of directors with tourism up here, so you have to deal with Joe all the time.
Yeah. No, I've been on that board for a long time. I can't even remember when I started, but Joel's been with us for 13 years, so I think I've been on the board for 16 or 18, or I can't remember.
Okay,
but
sure.
But Joe is one of a kind. He does a fantastic job. He's a machine. He's an everyday. He's in it. So
we've been working with him for, I bet about 12 years, 11 or 12 years now.
Yeah.
So he's been great to us, and obviously Lake of the Woods is such a unique place with so many opportunities to spend time in the outdoors, and even between the Rainy and the South End and the Angle, they're all different. Yet same system.
Yep.
Yet all different.
Yep. There's groups of people that they're kind of comfortable here, they're comfortable there, but once the Angle has a little bit more of a nostalgia or prestige or whatever you want to call it, maybe a better word, but once you kind of experience it, it's kind of like, what am I missing here? That I've never been up here. This is fantastic, and then it just kind of sticks with you. And
while maybe having that border crossing and cutting up through Canada may be a curse to some extent, but it's probably also what's protected this area and made it as special.
Yep.
Without that, if the states owned that whole stretch through there, it'd probably be loaded with cabins.
And I've said that before, that we're probably lucky as Americans that Canada still owns the majority of this lake, because it's the prestige and the wilderness is still there, where it's not kind of overrun, and it never will be. I mean, it's one of them things where you can go fishing for days and days and not see a boat, and let alone a cabin, and you'll never explore this whole lake in a lifetime. It would literally take you your entire life to be able to get every nook and cranny, and the million acres we have here is, it's hard to explain.
Well, it's kind of funny, because we've been up here a number of times over the last 4 or 5 years, and Dan's behind the camera here. And what did you say, Dan? This is your 4th trip up here, and this is the first time it's been a fishing trip. So we came up twice to hunt out of layout boats and duck hunt, cool. Which was unreal. And then we came up this summer to explore the history of Joe Lauren.
That's amazing, and it's
really cool.
That, I think, is an untapped resource of information that he's put together with that Lake of the Woods app. I think we as resort owners and even as locals are missing out on something big there that's just starting to show up, and new products to be offered for us to. I know we're going to start exploring that, even with the passenger service and the resort here, of offering that. I've talked to some of our guides about doing some of that stuff. And
sure. That ecotourism stuff is, it's really growing, and it's an untapped market for a lot of, traditional fishing destinations or hunting destinations, where you can bring in some new business and show them some of there's just so much history up here. It's so cool. And anything else coming up that you want to talk about, or just getting ready for winter?
Yeah, the winter's, it's a short season for us, really. We don't start till the day after Christmas, middle of March. Come on up, give it a shot. It's something you got to try if you've never done it before. We make it easy to get up here, whether you come across the lake, you drive around. Right now you can drive your truck. I just drove my 1-ton right out, 9 miles offshore out to the island, so you can drive right out.
My truck's here too, so I go out here.
It makes it super easy, super comfortable. So lot to do. Just call and ask questions. We'd be happy to figure it out and answer for you.
All right. Well, where do we find you online?
Sportsman's OakIslandLodge.com is our resort website. LOW Passenger is the the passenger service website. Real simple. And obviously, Reed Realty is my real estate office. And
the passenger service is a pirate logo?
Yeah, we've kind of taken up the pirate logo. I don't know if you guys see. It's been
that's awesome.
Kind of one of them deals. We got some shirts out there that have some funny sayings on them and everything, but it just kind of brings a character. And we wrapped a couple bombardiers and some stuff, and some American flag stuff. Kind of keeps it spicy, so
it's awesome. Well, thanks for the time, Gregg Hennum. Appreciate it, and we got to go eat something, so we'll let you get back at it. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Sporting Journal Radio is a division of Macaba LLC. If you've got a question, comment, or story idea for us, send us an email. Go to sportingjournalradio.com. While you're there, you can learn how to advertise on the show and visit our store for hats, hoodies, coffee mugs, and more. Go to sportingjournalradio.com.